Hey everybody, it's JJ and we're back again for another ASUS PCDIY hardware live stream. Happy Friday. Hopefully everybody's having a positive, productive week. Things are wrapping up and happy to have you guys joining us for the stream. It's been a little bit, been busy. I recently finished up actually attendance at another event that we had not that long ago with NAB, which was a great way to be able to go ahead and show off some of the really cool things that we're doing with our system series of products. We're actually going to be talking about a few of those things in today's stream, but we've got some actually cool stuff in terms of new UEFI feature set that we're actually implementing, especially for those that you might be considering DRAM, and some of the challenges are actually surrounding DRAM configurations, especially if you're maybe have a pre-existing build and maybe you're looking to upgrade memory, or maybe you're looking to actually build a new system, but looking at the landscape and trying to figure out what might be the best approach to that. We've got a new external SSD enclosure, a couple of new actually monitors to actually be able to touch on some really cool networking promotions. And of course, as always, your guys' questions and commentary that we'll see if we can go ahead and get into as well. So let's see today who we have joining us actually in today's stream. And again, thanks for joining us today. So happy Friday, man. Fantastic. Thank you for joining us, man. Happy to have you here. Looks like we've got the one, the only Mr. Stu joining us as well, man. Happy to see you. Hopefully you're doing great. Best to using yours, and everybody else is joining us on today's stream as well. Thanks for joining us. So let's get ready to go. I think just jump straight into it. We've got a couple of cool things that I want to be able to go ahead and touch on. We've got some product teasers and some announcements that are going to be coming up. So I think let's maybe do some of those first, some kind of cool stuff that's coming up. So I think first and foremost, I think as you guys are aware, Computex is not going to be too far out. It is going to be coming up. For those of you who are not aware, Computex is one of the biggest kind of tentpole events that we have in the calendar year, and it's a space that we usually like to be able to kind of show off some really new, cool, and exciting hardware. And I can definitely tell you that I've already seen a little bit of a preview in terms of what we're going to be having for Computex, and I can tell you that we've got some awesome stuff coming up. So if you're excited about ROG, you're excited about PC hardware, then definitely you're going to want to make sure to keep tuned for Computex. There's going to be some really great stuff there. There's also some really exciting things surrounding the ROG 20th anniversary. And I'd love to have anybody that's joining in today's stream, you know, what was your first ROG product and what was your last ROG product? Say, the first and the last, where have you been at? I've been lucky enough to almost be with ASUS for almost the entirety of the ROG anniversary cycle. So ROG celebrating its 20th anniversary, been here for a little bit more than 17 years. So I've been able to actually see almost the entirety of the ROG product ecosystem develop, and was actually lucky enough to even have the very, very first ROG product, which was I'm not going to say it right now. I want to see if anybody can figure out, and don't use the internet to figure out the answer. I just want to see if anybody actually is aware as what was the first actually ROG product. For those of you that probably know ASUS in our history, it should probably be pretty easy to be able to figure out. But we've got some cool stuff that's going on there. So yeah, we'll jump into that in a little bit. I've got some cool kind of product teasers to be able to touch on, and we'll go from there. Hey, fantastic, man. Emmanuel, man. From Puerto Rico, man. Happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us here on the stream. Very cool to see you. So, will I see you at the ROG 20th anniversary event? So yeah, there's some discussion right now that's actually going on with the team. I may be coming to Newegg to be able to do some stuff, so just make sure to, I guess, keep it tuned. As always, we love being able to actually work with our friends over at Newegg for different types of exciting pieces of kind of events and content and all that kind of cool stuff. So always just make sure to watch the feeds, and you'll kind of find out what is going to be going out on that side. So let's see. Anthony is going to go ahead and answer one of the questions before I go jump into it. So let's see what the first one was. 2022 was my first, and so that's actually pretty cool. So you're a pretty actually new ROG user, but it's awesome, right? I'm always really excited and happy to be able to have new people actually join the ROG family and be able to kind of be able to take advantage of the really great experience that we have with our hardware. So 2023 Zephyrus Duo, it was your last. That's a pretty sweet one too, especially with the dual screen laptop, a really nice kind of metal button finish. So awesome product, man, and thanks for Team ROG. So yeah, I think that's kind of crazy. Is if we kind of flash back a little bit to history, some of you guys might not be aware. When I first joined the company, there used to be this thing called ASUS World. So ASUS World was actually like this printed catalog. It was a catalog book that actually kind of showed all of the different products that ASUS made. And even when I joined the company so many years ago, the ASUS World catalog, it was probably like about like this thick, pretty thick. It was it's maybe about the thickness of my my gaming keyboard, which is it's pretty crazy if you think about it, right? And now, gosh, it's so much bigger. But even at that time, right, to think that ROG only had a couple of product categories. I think probably at that time, we might have just had motherboards and graphics cards. I don't know, yeah, the peripherals hadn't even launched yet because the peripherals was around a few years in. Yeah, so it was a much smaller product assortment. And now, where we of course have ROG in pretty much every single product line that we use. So, awesome to be able to kind of see us evolve from literally just that one product where, we really wanted to redefine the experience based on design and aesthetics, quality, innovation, and performance, and we've been able to carry that through. So pretty cool. So, yeah, let's go ahead and go into my little teaser here, and we'll kind of jump into it. One cool thing that I do want to share with you guys, for some of you that sometimes do watch, I think, our social channels or kind of like our websites and whatnot, we did recently actually release a pretty cool little kind of screen cover that I want to share with you guys. So it's actually on the right side of the fence. So if you actually check it out, you guys can check out the link that I'll go ahead and share. And it's not a requirement, of course, because definitely with pretty much all of our current OLED displays, we have a lot of technology that's built in to be able to go ahead and make sure to mitigate things, whether we're talking about the heatsink assembly design, whether we're talking about the firmware, the on-screen management. There's a lot of things that we do. But if you kind of want to be able to have something kind of cool and dynamic to be able to kind of show on your display and be able to safeguard in that way, then you can definitely check it out. So let me go ahead and load it up right here. It's this pretty ROG live wallpaper. So I think I can, let me actually see if I can show the video for you guys. Give me 1 second. I think I actually have it over here. Do I have it? There you guys go. Yeah. So let me actually go into it a little bit. So it's a really cool kind of stealthy, kind of like image in terms of kind of like like I said, an OLED type screensaver. It really works well in terms of kind of that contrast perspective. So definitely overall, it's something that I would recommend that you kind of check out. So let me know kind of what your thoughts are on that side. If you guys dig it, if you guys like it, I'll link it in the description. You guys can go ahead and okay. And if anybody's having anything on the audio side, I had one person let me know. So there's a little bit on the audio side. So let me know if everything's coming through, if you guys need me to adjust my levels. Hey, Neymar, man, fantastic. Happy to have you here on the stream, and thanks so much for joining us. And also, Eric, great to have you here on the stream, and thank you. So let me go ahead and drop that URL there in the chat for you guys if you guys want to check it out. So there you guys go. A little bit of some ROG OLED wallpaper, okay? To crank it up, I can go ahead and turn it up a little bit there. So we'll go ahead and bring up the audio. I think it's always a little bit easier sometimes to be you guys tune the audio up a little bit than necessarily me cranking it too much. But if you guys want me to bring it up a little bit, I just did. So let me know how it's kind of coming through on that side. All right. So the first item that I want to go ahead and touch on is going to be, if you guys remember, not that long ago, we actually had an announcement at the beginning here. We talked about base motherboards. So we had a number of actually new X870 base motherboards and BA50 base motherboards. And finally, those are pretty much coming out to the market. We actually have some confirmations for some boards that are actually being released. But what I did want to go ahead and touch on was that we do have another model that's coming in. So originally I had some questions saying like, hey, are you going to have any updates to the mini ITX segmentation? I actually told you guys we didn't have any immediate plans to release any updates outside of what we already had, which was an ROG STRIX BA50 base model. And then we also had an ROG X870 base model. But pretty excited to actually let you know that we do have another update in this regard. So let me go ahead and let you know on that side. So, check this here. Let's see. So on the audio side, let me know, you guys know if what it might be. I'm going to go ahead and make a tweak here. Let me know if that works a little bit better for you guys. We'll see if that is working okay. So for this update right here, this is going to be actually a new model. It actually will be the first time we'll be offering a gaming-based mini ITX base motherboard. And this will follow the same actually naming convention that we've had previously with these new updated models. So if you guys, again, kind of pay attention to what we previously talked about in our prior stream, we'll reintroduce these new under a name. 2026. They bring a whole new number of additional updates that are packed in. And so I'd recommend you can actually watch our prior live stream. We'll actually have a consolidated stream this month that will recap pretty much all of the current boards. I'm actually hoping to maybe do a build or two actually in a couple of systems as well, and actually go through like the new UEFI environments and some of the new software suite and some of the stuff that we have specific to these new Neo models. But with that, I do want to go ahead and actually touch on this guy. So this is just a little bit of a teaser right here for you guys, but we will be coming out with gaming B850i Wi-Fi Neo based update that we'll have to the mini ITX segmentation. So if you guys have been looking for, an update on that mini ATX side. This is pretty cool. As always, right, with kind of our strategy that we have when we talk about our kind of gaming product stack, ROG sits at the highest end, so that's going to be our best product, right? And then we have kind of ROG STRIX positioned in our better, and tough gaming is going to be good. It offers a great foundation to be solid, reliable, clean, and I think minimal design aesthetic and a good set of features and functionality. So tough gaming has, I think, become really popular in the last few years to be able to offer a great foundation for a lot of builders that want to hit that kind of sweet spot, not necessarily spend as much on the budgetary side, but still not compromise, like I said, on a solid board, solid set of components, and still be able to have really solid features. So let's go ahead and quickly take a look here at this new model that we are going to have. So image here, and we'll show you the gaming BA50-I. So a couple of images here, but go ahead and do it right there. But there you guys can see it, man. It's of course a mini ITX board. It's going to be a little bit more compact in terms of the overall design. But you can see it's got a clean design language to it. I think it looks pretty slick in terms of actually just the nice kind of clean accents that we have on there. Just a little bit of course black and then white banding. I do have also, of course, the IO based layout. So let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the IO. I'm not going to go into a full deep in terms of the spec at this time, right? Because of course we'll do that a little bit later when we get closer to the launch. But as always, for those of you who join our stream, I like to be able to give you guys some of the latest information that we haven't fully put out there. And this gives, again, if you're interested in building a small factor-based build, this is a great option. And of course, it really complements some of the new chassis lineups that we've released within our smaller segmentation chassis. Also, of course, our GPUs, the Dual Series, our Prime Series, our ProArt Series, those are all more compact-based designs, generally going from as little as almost like a 2-slot design to a 2.5 slot design. So if you want to go for even those more kind of compact chassis dimensions, then you can do that. But even with our chassis, like in the AP series, you can comfortably fit even our much larger GPUs, so you don't have to be limited to a smaller, more compact GPU. But based on only on the price, the thermal layout, and some of the other things, it's kind of nice to be able to keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and take a look right here at, I think, also the IO. Let's take a look at what the IO layout might be. I always like to kind of check that out. So here, actually, I think I've got a better image for you on that one. Let me swap it over here. This will work a little bit better for you guys. Okay, so you can see you got your HDMI, you got your DP. Cool to also see, one of the things that we did for 2026 is our generation, we started to get really aggressive at putting up more voice CMOS. So pretty much not that long ago, you had to go to the Dash E model, and the Dash E was the lowest model that we would have clear CMOS on. And then towards the refresh cycle, we actually implemented pretty much everything down to the Dash A also got the clear CMOS. So I'm loving that seeing now, even for this generation, we're moving from not only just ROG to ROG STRIX, but even to tough gaming models that actually have that. So again, this is like always the cool thing that we do where, features and functions that might be a more advanced premium products, we continue to try to bring those down to be able to continue to increase the totality of the value. And that's one of the cool things, is all these kind of features and functions. You might not be aware we were the first ones to implement a true kind of clear CMOS-based design on a motherboard with an actual button-based mechanism to make things faster, simpler, and easier. And that actually started all the way back on like an ROG-based motherboard. So to be able to kind of see it kind of come all full circle and be able to see this in kind of our entry products is kind of cool. But yeah, you can see right there, you've got your 10 gigabits Type A, then you have USB 2 Type A, so 4 ports right there. You've got another 2 ports, so 6 ports. You're going to have more even IO connectivity, of course, on the ROG models. But 6, I think, is solid. And keep in mind that you still have your internal headers, so you would have front-facing connections as well. 2.5 gigahertz networking, 6E, so you still actually have that 6 gigahertz baseband on there, and some additional multi-speed high connections, and of course, at least one USB-C. So I think, again, a nice little solid update that we're going to have there in terms of the mini ITX segmentation. Again, don't have more details to share with you, but just go ahead and, like I said, make sure to keep it tuned. We'll definitely fill you in for more information as we get ready to launch that model. Okay. So Qboard, yeah, it's I think always nice in terms of actually seeing stuff. In terms of availability, no, it won't be next year. It'll be probably within the next quarter, I would say, in terms of the actual release cycle. So none of these, anything that I usually talk about, unless it's like really going to be that far out, I usually probably wouldn't try to tease you guys too much from that perspective. So usually it's going to probably be a little bit closer to later. Where's the white version? Do keep in mind that we actually do have an update that we've recently done for actually a mini ATX based in white. So that has actually been something that we haven't previously offered, right? So um, it is cool to finally be able to see that type of update. Historically, and I would say that we hadn't necessarily prioritized wanting to make like a white-centric mini motherboard, and part of that is because a lot of times you can't see the motherboard within a small form factor-based build. Pretty much once you put all the componentry on it, you're pretty much gonna block out the visibility, unlike, let's say, in a more open type of system where you can more comfortably see all the componentry. But we did definitely see feedback that we had from people that wanted to be able to see that. So, um what version of BT? The version of BT is always gonna generally be dictated by the wireless chipset that we're utilizing on the product. So pretty much for all modern generation-based boards where you're talking about generally Wi-Fi 6E, and the vast majority of our boards, which are generally now Wi-Fi 7, of course, when they're being shipped out, means that you're generally gonna be working with the latest generation Bluetooth 5.x space specification. In most situations, like 5.3 to 5.4 base classification. Latest generation, of course, standard right now is gonna be Bluetooth 6, and actually, oddly enough, we just released a standalone, Bluetooth 6 USB-based adapter. So if you really like, pairing kind of the latest generation Bluetooth compliant specification with a new type of device that might require that latest gen spec, or maybe you don't necessarily wanna upgrade everything else, that is a cool way that, we actually do have these small USB little adapters, and you can actually pick one of those up. We did that previously excuse me, with Bluetooth 5, and now we also have one with Bluetooth 6. So again, if you want to just make sure that you kind of have that latest generation specification, you can essentially just add in that Bluetooth module, and bam, you're good to go, and you can get advantage of that latest spec. Okay. Hey, Victor, love the picture there of the cat. And happy Friday. Thanks for joining us here on the stream. So let's see. Romero, where's the Strix LC you revealed at CES? It's going to be coming right now. I think we're probably going to be targeting, I'd say, June release time frame for the Strix LC. So it's a little bit pushed out, but it is going to be coming. We'll have it available. We are going to be talking about another new AIO update that's finished putting out to the market. It's going to kind of be at the opposite end of the spectrum, a bit of a lower cost-based option that we have with our new Max series AIO coolers, kind of like an analog to the Prime series-based cooler offering that we have. So yeah, no update now in terms of immediate availability for this LC4, but it is going to be coming. I know a lot of people have been waiting because, of course, those also pair really well with, of course, the latest generation motherboards that have that quick AIO connector header on there to be pretty much eliminate any type of cable connections when you're mounting the AI, right? So I'm definitely waiting for those units to hit availability because I know there's a lot of people that have been waiting for them. Okay, so we talked about there that update on that side for the tough gaming. I also wanted to go ahead and just give one update, another one here that I have for you guys. And so this is going to be another upcoming product release that we will be having in the not too distant future. Again, probably thinking late in Q3 timeframe, but we will be actually updating the Tough Gaming series to finally move from Gold series to also Platinum series. So right now, Platinum had pretty much only been reserved for the ROG series of base power supplies. So we are going to actually be rolling out multiple new options that we'll have in the Tough Gaming ecosystem for Platinum. So again, we maintain that great quality that we've been having with the Tough Gaming units, outstanding warranty, specialized design mechanisms that we have, like larger heat sinks or protective coating on the PCB to be able to improve resiliency, improve durability. A lot of really great stuff. The fully etched modular, actually, I think, are probably one of the most slept on benefits because they're a premium based cable. They have really got supplyability to them, and they look great, and they come with all of the Tough Gaming series power supplies. So being able to upgrade them over to the new GaN based power architecture design, which is better for efficiency, it's better for response, better actual for thermal distribution characteristics, along, like I said, with the overall platinum rating efficiency bump. That's going to be nice. So don't expect that we're going to phase out the gold. You'll probably still continue to see the gold for quite some time, and then we'll also be concurrently having the platinum-based models. And then, of course, we'll still have the ROG Strix-based models, and we will have the ROG-based units. Okay, so and for this one, while I don't have the white variant to show you, I would expect again that we'll at least have one model within the Tough Gaming line of refresh cycle with the platinum that will be white. Most likely, it'll probably be I think it's tentatively the 1,000 watt. It may be the 850 watt. I'll have to double check on that. But again, this is just a little bit of a teaser that it's going to be coming out a little bit later. Okay, so another little bit of a soft tease for you guys on something else that's going to be coming up. All right. All right. So, any other quick ones that I wanted to show right there. Let me double check if the new Platinum Series power supplies, the Neo Series are with wallpaper that I wanted to go ahead and share. Okay, so I think that takes care of most of that. So before I get into the new products, one update that I did want to go ahead and talk a bit about is going to be, I think, just in general, you know, one second here. Is going to be a bit about our ASUS DRAM features. So we recently actually just issued some new UEFI firmware for our latest generation motherboards. There's going to be applicable updates that exist for both the current generation of Intel-based motherboards as well as also, of course, AMD-based motherboards. This extends to specialized items like new enhanced options that we have for our AMP. AMP was actually originally introduced, so it's called the ASUS Extreme Memory Profile. It's kind of like an analog of an internal-based optimization profile that we independent of something like, let's say, like Expo or XMP. And it was designed to be able to kind of read the characteristics of not only look at your motherboard, your CPU, but also assess like the ICs that you have on the actual memory modules, and then be able to kind of create a more customized profile. It actually worked really well for a lot of users that would sometimes buy more aggressively priced memory or what I would call kind of like non-premium based memory kits that generally didn't have an XMP profile. An example is you might get maybe a kit of memory and it might have been made rated like at 4800 MT. A lot of people might have been buying like a 6000 MT kit, but might not realize that you could take that 4800 MT kit and run it at 6000. A lot of people sometimes just didn't have the knowledge on what parameters to tune. They didn't know how to manually set the memory divider, what might be the corresponding voltage, what might be corresponding secondary or tertiary level timings that they have to adjust. So the cool thing about the AMP profile is go through, it would have a kind of a database, run through an adjustment cycle, and then apply all those variables for you, and you'd be good to go. So we've made some really cool updates to this, both again Intel and AMD-based platforms, along with again support for new types of lower cost DRAM solutions that are coming to the market as well. And I think the really cool part to this is that it just gives you as a builder more flexibility in terms of approaching what might work better for you from a budgetary perspective. So say right now, because of the higher cost of memory, you want to be able to deploy a memory configuration. Maybe you've got a pre-existing board right now, but you want to add some memory into it. Maybe you're going to be building a system and you're going to go with a smaller density, and maybe you later want to upgrade. So normally the reality is you don't want to mix kits. Mixing kits can actually lead to a lot of sometimes interoperability and instability within a system. Kind of the most basic thing that generally happens is that the motherboard will read what's called the base SPD information. It'll set all the memory speeds to run at their lowest parameters. Now that's done to help to ensure kind of the system posts and boots and it can work normally, but it doesn't necessarily have to be to maximize the performance. But the cool thing that we're going to be offering, not only with this AMP technology, but also our dim fit profiling technology, is the ability to essentially kind of level up those kind of kit configurations. So even if you're running kind of multiple different types of kits, whether it's like one SBC or two DPC configurations, maybe you have like an 8 GB kit, and then you're going to add in like a 16, so you're running like a 24 gig configuration, which is kind of weird. You would still be able to actually maximize and get better performance from that by utilizing some of these features. So I want to show you a little bit kind of how that will look. We'll probably do a more kind of complete demo of this, I think, in a future live stream. So for those of you who might be really interested in, we're going to go ahead and show that to you. Hey, Jason, happy to have you joining us here on this stream, man. Thanks for joining us here. So happy Friday, man. So let me bring up a couple items. So, yeah, we'll do it this way. Okay, so yeah, here's dim 1, and here we have dim 2, dim 3, and here's, yeah, okay. I think it works like this. This is good. Okay. So we can kind of do it this way. So let me do it here. Okay. And okay, so right now, if you kind of go into our UEFI BIOS environment, there's actually a utility that we have actually built into the UEFI environment. And this actually allows you to go ahead and actually check the slot that you actually have for the DRAM. So you can actually see right here, like this says DIM1, and then you go ahead and see more information about that memory module. So like you can actually see like the PMIC, right? You can see that's a Renaissance, right? We can actually check its density per die. So it's like 16. We can check it's a one rank base module, right? There's more information, right? We can break it down to like we can see the actual vendor, or it's a Samsung-based IC. So there's actually different IC manufacturers. So you have like SK Hynix, you have Samsung, you still even have Micron that's actually also on the market. So technically, there's of options that are out there. Now, normally, you wouldn't necessarily want to go about mixing and matching kits, but in this scenario, because of just the current kind of conditions, it might be in a scenario where, like, hey, that's what I end up having to kind of do to be able to go ahead and take advantage of, the upgrade pathway that I might have, or based on your budget, you picking just the options that will work well for you, right? So here, if I go ahead and bring up a secondary one, so that's A2, so we'll bring up another one right here. So here you can see like B2. So B2, this would be the SK Hynix. So this is actually an entirely different module. It's a different density, right? And so the point is here was what we're going to show is we're going to show that we're actually we're mixing the kit configurations, right? And so how would this work? Well, once you actually mix these configurations, most users by default would just kind of let the board run, right? They're just going to leave it at kind of the default, unless you're probably a little bit more savvy and you know how to go about kind of tuning, right? Where you go, okay, I'm going to manually set the memory divider. I know that I maybe want to use this target, VCCSA voltage for my memory controller. This is actually memory voltage that I also need to apply for my DRAM. These are the corresponding subtimings that I also want to use. There could also be sometimes a little bit more esoteric kind of settings that are in the UEFI that you may or may not know how they actually influence memory instability, influence memory stability or interoperability. But let's kind of go through a little bit more of how the process kind of would work here. So I do have this chart. So bring this up here and kind of show you how this could work. But the cool part is, again, is you have just the ability to go through and kind of play around with this a bit here. Okay. So yeah. So if you kind of see right here, you would be able to go ahead and implement the modules, and then once you go into then the UEFI framework, you can see that you got your option here for your AI overclock tuner. So normally, when you would have like a normal standard memory kit that you would purchase, it would already be a matched kit of DIMMs, right? So either it's a set of 2 DIMMs or potentially be a set of 4 DIMMs. Although most users actually, a lot of users though they don't even match 4 sets of DIMMs. A lot of users duplicate 2 sets of DIMMs, so they'll actually do 2 packs of 2 DIMMs to have 4 DIMMs, as opposed to what they actually should be doing, which should be buying a matched set of 4 DIMMs. But this proves the point is that what you would be able to do is you would put in corresponding kit configuration, and then from there you would select the AMP2. The reason why is because there's no pre-existing XMP profile, because you have different types of kits of memory that all have their own respective profiles, or maybe they don't even have XMP profiles because maybe they're just cheaper, more basic forms of memory, right? Because again, a lot of people think the only type of memory that might be on the market is an Expo kit or XMP kit. That's not the case. There's actually just standard JADEC-based memory that doesn't have an overclock profile, and they adhere to what are called official port table standards. But here, you can essentially go ahead and select this profiling option, and then the motherboard will attempt to essentially go through and auto-adjust all these features for you, and then leave you with that new running speed. So that allows you to go ahead and get even a higher level of performance. And that can, again, work in pretty much a huge number of permutations, from 1 DIMM to 2 DIMMs to 4 DIMM configurations. You can go ahead and be able to have improvements. Another option too that I think is really cool is that even if you kind of want to take things further, on the latest generation of motherboards on the Intel and the AMD side, they also have this DIMM-FIT technology. And I've spoken more in depth about this in the past, but the really cool thing about DIMM-FIT is that essentially we built in like an automated overclocking algorithmic tool into the UEFI firmware. So what you can do is you can go ahead and kind of set the corresponding target parameters that you would attempt to like your memory to get to. Especially if you're trying to go for a little bit more aggressive frequency configurations, this can be quite advantageous, because what it will do is we already have like a lot of internal analysis and logic and understanding of what can affect overclocking scaling and what parameters we can adjust based on the configuration of your memory density, right? The kits you're utilizing, your CPU and your motherboard, kind of throw that all together, and we can run through these permutations, and it can keep actually going through, adjusting, going through and adjusting, going through adjusting, and it will eventually dump out its custom dim fit profile. Now, this is different from AMP. AMP is almost like right away immediate, where pretty much you'll run AMP on the next week they have that AMP profile in place. But let's say actually wasn't successful or maybe had some instability, you could actually run dim fit to attempt to resolve that. Or if you just want to go through a more kind of manual tuning approach, you can also use dim fit to attempt to provide you this new custom profile. The really cool part to this again is that it's specific to your memory, your CPU, your motherboard combination, and the configuration that ultimately you're running. Now, it's not going to necessarily be a short amount of time. Probably on the base level, it'll take at least a couple of hours, like about 2 to 3 hours to generally run. And if you have really complex configurations and very high density configurations, you could be looking at 5 to 6 to over 8 hours for it to run. So it's one of those things I tell somebody, hey, it's Friday. It's towards the end of the night. I'm going to go ahead and run it. But then when I wake up on Saturday, DimFit has gone ahead and run. And now I'm a custom actually DimFit profile. And you can actually have more than even one DimFit profile available to you. So this is a really just awesome feature that we have. Again, really continues to increase the total value of an ASUS-based motherboard when you're considering either upgrading or adopting into one of our boards. And really love to be able to say that the cool thing also for AMP and DimFit is that it's not limited to kind of a series segmentation focus. You could buy a Prime Series motherboard, a Tough Gaming Series motherboard, a ProArt motherboard, an ROG motherboard, and they're all going to have that feature set built into the UEFI. Okay, so pretty cool in that regard. So Jason says, I love the new updated BIOS on the X870-E Neo. It's much easier to navigate. Yeah, I already thought it was very easy. On the prior generation, I thought we had kind of best in class. The Neo is really cool because now we have updated that new UEFI firmware environment, which actually even looks kind of a bit closer to like an Armory Crate software experience. Plus, we keep that prior generation upgrade where we moved over to an HD UEFI interface. So it just looks really nice, sharp, and clear. You kind of add that all together, and it just really creates a great foundation. And the sleeper big benefit that I love on all the Neo boards is, of course, the Wi-Fi drivers now built into the UEFI firmware. That means when you go ahead and install your operating system, once you actually get into the OS, you don't have to kind of figure out how do I put the Wi-Fi driver in there to be able to download my software. You can already be connected online. You can run the Driver Hub software suite, which is a really small utility. It's like, I think it's like 5 or 6 megabytes. It will automatically scan your motherboard, and it will give you pretty much all of the options to download all of your drivers, all the core utilities, and help to get you up and running. So previously, we had pre-injected just the LAN driver because the LAN driver was quite a bit smaller than the Wi-Fi driver. But with the update to all the new Neo motherboards, they now, of course, have a much larger what's called option ROMs. Now we can also go ahead and pre-inject the Wi-Fi drivers, and you actually have both of those drivers built in. So it just gives an overall better experience in that regard. So pretty cool. Okay. So yeah, that just helps you to kind of give you a little bit of an update on some of the cool features that we have that you may or may not have been aware of with the latest generation motherboards when it comes to the DRAM design. But like I said, probably be that in a more dedicated stream. And we have talked about it before and even demoed a little bit in some prior streams. So you can go ahead and search on the North American YouTube channel if you go on and check that out. You want to find out a little bit more about it right now. Or like always, I recommend that if you guys are interested, you can also always join our ASUS PCDIY community. I've dropped a little QR code there up in the corner. That's our Hype-B community. It's a great community of fellow ASUS users. We also have an ASUS moderation team there that helps give you insights on all the latest stuff that we're coming to market with. We can also help to give you guidance on our products and feature set along those lines. So yeah, please make sure to go ahead and join that community if you're not part of that community. All right. Okay, so let's move things along here. Spend a little bit of extra time to talk about that, but what are we going to go into? So I think the first one I want to touch on is going to be external SSD here that we've actually been coming out with. It's an SSD enclosure. So this is going to be a ProArt-based enclosure. So this is actually our first ProArt-based enclosure. So this is going to be the ProArt PF120SU. So we had already had an ASUS Cobble. So the ASUS Cobble was a 10 gigabit base enclosure. We had the original ROG Arion, and that was a 10 gigabit base enclosure. And then we just recently launched the ROG Neos, so that's a 20 gigabit base option. And then we had the Tough Gaming A1 and A2. So the A1 was 10 gigabits, and the A2 was 20 gigabits. So pretty much we had different 10 gigabit based options, and then we had 20 gigabit based options. But for some of you that might really want like the fastest option, you might have been wondering, hey, are you guys going to eventually have like a 40 gigabit based option? So of course with ProArt, since we focus this at professionals, creators, or people that are really looking for that higher level of kind of performance when it comes to kind of their workflow experience, this is going to be our 40 gigabit base solution. So it is going to be USB 4 PCIe NVMe SSD enclosure. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Okay. So yeah, I'll go ahead and open up the images here, and we can take a look. And yeah, we can do it this way. Okay. So you guys can see right here, this is the actual M.2 SSD. It's been popped over. It has nice quick access. I can pop off that panel. Once I pop off that panel, the heat sink, I can then get access to the inside of the drive. But externally, we actually worked really hard to be able to actually have this be quite a bit notably smaller than a lot of the other competitors that are on the market, but while still having actually class-leading, I think, not only build quality, but actually thermal dissipation performance, especially as you start to get larger density and higher performing M.2 SSDs. Externally, you start to find some of the same challenges you actually have internally with the motherboard, which is going to be thermal balancing and ensuring that you don't actually have throttling based on temperatures. So this unit actually is pretty cool because there's actually an integrated fan solution in here, but we have a very intelligent four-step base fan design, which has been maintained to not only be great thermal performance, really class-leading thermal performance, but also still ultra-quiet operation. So you still get the best of both worlds in terms of ensuring that you have something that's going to give you great performance, but it's also still quiet because, you know, you might have it there on your desk, you're running through your file transfers and doing everything you want there. Really love the just clean, minimal design language they always have on a ProArt-based product. You're good to go. You can just see that you guys kind of just design language, which I think looks great, and of course functional design language with the fins there from kind of like a heatsink assembly perspective, right? Now, if you see when you pop it open, you can actually see how much of the internal mass of the heatsink is going on there. Of course, we have the thermal pad, which helps them make the connection to the heatsink assembly itself. We have some additional internal ribbing, and then you can also see that we're bringing over the same kind of easy design characteristics that we've had on our motherboard with kind of the Q-latch mechanism. So again, you don't have to worry about screws or anything like that. Just angle in that to SSD in there, click it into paste, and pop it in, and bam, you're going to be all good to go. Really fast, really easy, really simple to be able to kind of work with it. But I do want to show you a little bit of kind of some of the performance data that we've been able to capture here that shows really, I think, some of the benefits that you would have with this type of product. So let me go ahead and bring up a little bit of this data here for you guys. And you can see. So critically, you know, really when we're taking a look here at kind of thermal performance characteristics, right? You know, the best way to kind of show this is generally going to be when we take a look at something from an active sustained transfer. So here you can kind of see an example of an active sustained transfer where we have different solutions, right? And we've got to have a 30-minute file transfer there where we have quite a bit of data that we're going to actually be transferring over. And here you can see that we're plotting over essentially that data being transferred and the speed performance of the drive. Now, just like it is for a normal desktop-based M.2 SSD, the hotter that that drive gets over a period of time, you generally start to see more oscillation, more variance, and a reduction in the overall performance. So here you can see two other kind of solutions, and you can see a lot more kind of up and down, up and down, up and down, right? And that just lends kind of a usability experience, which tends to be poor, where like you'll see the transfer speeds go up and down and bouncing quite a bit. Also just extends out the overall time that it takes to transfer over the unit. But you can see right here with, of course, the ProArt based external M.2 SSD enclosure, you can pretty much see that we have just a little bit from the top there, right? We can see over 2 gigs a second, and it drops down here, but it stabilizes, and it really maintains consistency at, you know, well over 1.6 gigabytes a second, right? Where you can see some of these guys right here, they're dropping a huge degree in terms of the actual performance. And again, over time, it gets even worse, right? You're just seeing more variability where you can see us, we're in that much tighter uniform level of consistency. So this is, I think, going to be really one of the hallmark benefits that we have. But this is actually something that we've really done really well, that even when the Arion came out, we had really one of the best thermal designs on the market. The top gaming models also have been that way. So I think we've done a really great job at offering these external M.2 SSD enclosures with a higher quality of attention to detail that you don't commonly see within there. Better overall interoperability, better PCB designs, and just a better experience. So I think this is going to be a great addition to our lineup. And if it's something you're going to be interested in, you'll be able to pick it up in the not too distant future. And again, we have different tiers. If you don't need to go all the way up to a 40 gig based option, because generally, that also means you're going to be investing more on the type of storage that you're going to be using in there. And I really like the Tough Gaming A2. The Tough Gaming A2, I think, is a fantastic option, and 20 gigabits is already super fast. Most people generally right now only use a 5 gigabit based like external storage device. So that's already 4 times faster than a 5 gigabit based solution. And the ROG ACE was just recently launched. That one I love, and that one I would recommend. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in links to pretty much all of these. So if anybody wants to check these out, you guys can go ahead and yeah, check them out when you guys want. Okay. So give me 1 second here, and pop those up for you guys. So again, the Tough Gaming A2. If you want to be able to see this one here, this is going to be the Tough Gaming A2. And the A2 is actually on sale right now. So it normally has an MSRP of $60. Right now, it's actually at $10 off for $50. And then from here, you've got the Alios. Alios is going to be pretty much just like a little bit of an upgrade compared to the A2. A2 is still really nice, really premium super body, and of course it has the IP certification, so it's really super durable stuff. This unit has a little bit more advanced software suite. It has like a little bit more of a premium casing. It has the RGB lighting, has a little accessory strap as well to it. So if you want to be able to kind of quickly attach it into a sling or a backpack or other things like that. So again, this one also will come with a more advanced software front end, which will help you to kind of see more real-time information, such as like all of the stats regarding your actual M.2 SSD if you want that information. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'll go ahead and drop these in the chat. Give me 1 second right here. So nice that the PA42, yeah, has the Q release, excuse me, the Q latch technology. I think it looks good. Still waiting for the Alios. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Hey, Justin, happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us on Friday, man. Very good to have you. Yeah, so that's still a kind of like an early type of kind of prototype of technology, and the reality is that we have a lot of known kind of consistency and analysis at understanding, small diameter based fan designs from what we're doing from everything from our gaming hand to laptops and things along those lines. So there's always a kind of a balancing act of kind of figuring out, what has proven reliability, effectiveness, and usability. And then also even bringing intelligence to that, right? Like some vendors, they might throw a solution in there, but they don't actually have like a more robust type of scalable controller in there, or they haven't implemented kind of multi-point fan gradient type of control functionality, which again, that's the cool thing that we have is we have actually a 4-stage cooling based algorithm that's been profiling based, of course, not only the temperature and the load for the drive. So there's a lot of intelligence that we've kind of put in there to help to make sure that, again, we get the balance of the thermal benefit that we're looking for while still making sure that we get good acoustics, right? So let me go ahead and drop these in the chat. Okay, gone ahead and drop those in for you guys right there. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, so very cool. So I've gone ahead and dropped those in the chat if anybody wants to go ahead and check those guys out. So that's an update on our product right there. Next one that I want to go ahead and touch on is going to be actually on the cooler side. So if you guys aren't aware in terms of what we do from our coolers, we have actually a pretty broad ecosystem of coolers that we have available. And actually, let me go ahead and drop also the ProArt in there. So if you guys want to check out the ProArt, I'm also going to head and I've dropped that in the chat there as well for you guys. Okay. So, in terms of coolers, we have generally had kind of like our Prime series, right? And then we have our Tough Gaming series, then we have our ROG STRIX series, and then we have our ROG series. We, of course, also introduced ProArt. But similar to actually what we did with some of our motherboards where we've had like a Max-based product, we also now have this Max series. Think about them generally interchangeably between the Prime and the Max series for the most part. But this is going to be generally our most price-aggressive offering. I think it offers a really great balance in terms of the overall kind of feature set and price. And the great thing, at least for this one, is that it's already right now available. So you don't even have to wait for it if it is something that you're interested in either upgrading to or looking to be able to go ahead and throw into your next build. So this is going to be a 360 millimeter based AIO cooling solution. Some of the cool things I think that exist on this model: a really solid pump in terms of its overall performance, pretty quiet in terms of the operation, good overall actually flow performance. I really like that the fan radiator is actually pre-mounted, pre-integrated in there. It does have daisy chain support. I also like the update that we did here. Well, I don't think it was generally an issue in the prior generation. Some of the prior units, sometimes when you did have to connect the cable to the actual pump header, they would have like a micro USB, or they have a different type of connector. This one is just a little bit simpler and easier, because now that actual connector that connects to the actual LCD display is a USB-C. And then on the other end, you have that standard kind of USB 2 header that goes to your motherboard, right? And keep in mind, for those you aren't aware, some of the cool updates that we did for the new Neo series is that the Neo series now boards generally have 3 USB 2 headers at the bottom of the motherboards, which is great, especially if you have things like these coolers, ARGB controllers, and other devices that need these USB 2 headers. You have more of them on these latest generation series of boards. I love the, a nice size screen, 2.4-inch base to screen. While screens have been not necessarily anything new, and if you didn't know, pro tip, actually ASUS was the first manufacturer to release an AIO before anybody else that actually had a screen on the AIO. So we actually have a very big history on that side. I think at this price band, to be able to get a nice IPS-based 2.4-inch display, I think is quite nice. And so we scale out to really have quite a number of different display options right now, based on only the size, the refresh rate, the amount of internal memory. But I think this is a really nice balance. This one also fully utilizes the new software suite that we developed, which is our our Info Hub utility. But you can see right here, the actual stat performance is really quite nice. Some of the more entry units sometimes usually peak at around like 1800 RPM, and their overall airflow and their static pressure isn't really going to be that strong. And so sometimes you end up wanting to upgrade the fans, where if you were saving some money buying this kind of cheaper AIO, you actually end up increasing the cost, because you're going to go spend another like $20 to $40 to $60 on fans to replace the fans that already came with the AIO. So I think actually having fans, you can see right here that their peak airflow is at actually over 70 CFM. And even at that highest level, because keep in mind, all the numbers you always see for a fan are going to generally be communicated to you when the fan is operating at its peak performance, right? That can be a double-edged sword, because sometimes they'll throw you a really big number, but nobody's going to run the fan at that level, because the fan might be too loud for you to comfortably want to run at that level, right? So the fact that you have, again, true 0 dB operating mode, which is nice, because that means when the system is not running, the fans will pretty much tune down, and you'll have pretty much full silence, which is fantastic. Scale up to 2500 RPM, which is quite nice to be able to give you more cooling performance. That static pressure is great to be able to complement the performance of kind of focusing the airflow and working through the radiator. Good airflow, and even the noise profile at 35 dB. That's really nice in a sweet spot in terms of kind of the peak noise profile. Yeah, I think this is a great unit. You can kind of see, again, the Info Hub option right there. So I think this is a great addition that we have. This also follows up the Tough Gaming LC3 series, which we did recently also release. And again, if you guys want to check that one's out, the Tough Gaming LC3, you guys can search that. We actually have that in both an LCD version and non-LCD version. I won't spend too much time to talk about this one, because we already talked about it in a prior stream when we actually brought these to the market not that long ago, but they are already available as well. So again, you can get this one. If you even want a little bit higher performance, you'll see the difference here is that the Max Gaming one was a 2.4-inch display. This one moves up to a much nicer, it's even a little bit brighter, 2.8-inch base display. Also, the memory is a bit larger on this unit. I really liked also kind of this kind of cool minimal geometric base head that you have on the unit. And yeah, so this is it's a great kind of, again, just upgrade option. And we do have this one in white as well as in black. So again, if you want a little bit kind of more color choice, and here you can again just see kind of the difference from the performance level. They're both quite nice, but again, if we kind of go here to the STRIX LC, excuse me, to the Tough Gaming LC, to the Max, you can see 70 CFM, right? 3.5, right? Almost 3.6, but you can hear see 90 CFM, just a little bit louder, but then even much higher static pressure. And then you can see really the RPM is only just a little bit more, but this is a really performing unit. I really love kind of the price to performance to the design to the feature set that you get. I think this guy is a awesome unit. So for most people, I would actually recommend just spend a little bit of the extra money to probably get the Tough Gaming base model. You'll probably see that we might run a little bit more active promotions on the Max series unit than we would probably run on the Tough Gaming model, but we would also probably be running some promotions on that one as well. So yeah, let me go ahead and drop those in the chat for you guys if anybody is interested in checking those guys out. Hey, Radiant, man, how you doing, man? Is that a goat? That's a little picture of a goat, man. Cool to see. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on the stream, man. Okay, so that is going to be the link for the Max 360 LC. And I'll go ahead and I'll drop in the link there for the Tough Gaming. And the Tough Gaming, keep in mind for that one, again, it's white and it's black. And you can also get it in an LCD version and in a non-LCD version. Oh, okay. All right. Let me go ahead and check here. Give me 1 second. Okay. Anything else on that, guys? Did anybody have any questions on those guys? If not, then we'll go ahead and we'll keep moving things along on that side. So one other update, well, I guess while some people kind of maybe jump in to see if they have any questions on that side, is we'll start to get into some of the cool ROG-based updates that I wanted to go ahead and touch on. So we'll have more information coming in the not too distant future on this, but I'm sure probably some of you guys have seen the announcement that came out from this. For those that you might be, of course, wondering about a new update that we have in terms kind of like of our power series kind of solution products. So we have the ROG equalizer. So this is going to actually be a product that we are going to be coming out with. Probably expect availability, I would say, within this this month in terms of the actual overall release. We actually will be offering this as an independent based accessory, and there will also be updated versions of our power supplies that will come actually included with the ROG equalizer in it as well. So there will be a kind of like a comprehensive based release of it. Also, as part of this, I do want to show you guys, you might have maybe only seen the black based model, but there will actually be an also white edition. So for those of you got those big, bold, and white theme systems, like maybe like my system right here next to me, and you want to be able to go ahead and have an RG equalizer for that, then you're going to be covered. So we will have both white and we will have black, and again, we will also have power supplies that will have that included in there. There'll also probably be some additional information for some of the models that we might be offering right now that will have the ability to essentially have like a soft bundle integration. So make sure to just keep tuned for more kind of details in that regard. Now, if you haven't seen the information, essentially the big update of what we're doing here within this design is that it's using a bridge. Underneath this kind of little sheath, essentially there's a bridge type topology. And this bridge type topology, really what we're achieving here is a more consistent and a more nominal, essentially, power loadout across all of the pins. This just helps to overall improve the overall experience, and it significantly reduces the overall temperature. Ultimately, this helps to reduce and significantly kind of mitigate the type of concern that you would have with kind of a melting connector. Now, keep in mind that for our current generation already fully etched modular cables, we are already kind of using a more premium type of cable that already improved upon the actual per pin connection experience and also help to reduce generally contact temperatures. But this kind of takes it to the next level. So this doesn't have to be utilized exclusively with an ASUS based power supply, but of course, if you do use it with an ASUS power supply, that's fantastic. And again, we will have kind of a bundled based product experience that will afford that to you. So it will be kind of sold in two kind of configurations. If you just want to be able to get one of these and integrate them into your current PSU based configuration, you can go that route. Or of course, if you want the more kind of complete one ASUS based solution, then you can definitely go through that route. And you can see, of course, some of the data right here where we're showing that because of that bridged actually layout, there's a much better consistency and a much more nominal distribution, right? That allows for those temperature reduction across all the entirety of all the pins. So you can see right here without the RG equalizer, how you can see that you definitely have an increase on kind of certain pins, right, and certain cables, as opposed to the entirety, which is going to be far more consistent. So that ultimately is just helping to give you more security and just more peace of mind, right, within the actual experience, especially when you're making the more investment. This also complements, other things that we're doing with things like our, per pin sensing technology that we have, let's say, like on our ROG Astral based graphics cards. And you'll actually have some cool things that are tied into our GPU tweak power detection utility, which also give you some additional data too, that will give you some additional kind of peace of mind as well. So I think that we're probably going to maybe cover this as far as like showing you actually how like it works and some other stuff like that, maybe like in a future live stream. So I would say keep it tuned for that, but it's going to be coming in the not too distant future. I think right now we already have a notification option that might be live on our site. If it's not, it'll be coming up soon. You'll have like a little notification button, but expect, like I said, more channel availability information to be coming probably as early as maybe next week. And of course, once it's actually getting ready to push out to the channel, we're definitely going to be letting you guys know. So again, you will have it in both white and you will have it in black for the ROG equalizer. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and drop that in there for you guys. Let me go ahead and see any questions right here. So Rashley says, hi Rudy, I'm doing my first build with some ASUS products. Love my Dark Hero, Tough 5080 and the Tough 1200 watt power supply. I'm really glad I went with this motherboard. Yeah, the Dark Hero is just about as good as you can get. The Hero is always kind of like my favorite model that we always have generally every generation. I mean, I love so many of our boards, but the Hero is kind of quintessentially usually like our flagship series board. The features, the functions, and designs, it's absolutely fantastic. That board just is, it's built beautifully. It looks fantastic. The feature set's awesome, man. But have a fantastic, build. I hope everything goes really smoothly, and you've got really an amazing foundation for years to come. Not only with everything you got on the Dark Hero, but then with that Tough Gaming 5080, a great power supply right there within that Tough Gaming Gold 1200 watt, and those nice fully etched modular cables. That sounds like you got a fantastic foundation for your build, man. So best of luck with it. Okay. We'll go ahead and see. If the store stops. Now, if only the display on the Thor 3 stops acting. I'm not sure what you mean by Neymar. If you haven't shared that information, I think either with our service and support team or with maybe Lee, our community manager, if you're part of our PCDIY group, feel free to go ahead and share that information so we can look into. It's pretty straightforward. There's not usually anything that, at least in my experience when I've used the Thor, I've never had a variability with kind of the display readout information. So again, if you have more specifics, I'd definitely love to hear feedback on that, guys. And one other person, I think somebody else made a commentary a little bit before. I eliminated the echo suppression option that it had, so let me guys know if you felt that there was any change in the audio experience as well. Okay. So somebody else says, I got the Glacial a while back and I'm very happy with it. So that's awesome, man. The Glacials, again, if we talk about the Hero being amazing, the Glacial's like in a whole nother stratosphere. That is truly just a unique motherboard. The fit, the finish, the functionality, so many of the cool little design elements, from the magnetic cover plates, right, that even go around the corners, right, to the cool magnetic actually DRAM assist fan, right, to that Magna plate design, the quick AIO connector, and just that ultra premium bold and bright aesthetic. Yeah, the Glacial is just, that is that next level, right, where of course it's going to be a rarefied category for a lot of people. Most people are never going to have something like a Glacial motherboard, but yeah, for those that do support us in that way, it's fantastic to be able to see you guys be so happy with those products, because they are really, I would say, just a really kind of a labor of love, right, that we put into a lot of those really premium products, where we're trying to kind of do stuff that is really cool and really distinct and really exciting, right? Thanks, Neymar. Yeah, so maybe it might have been, I think maybe that might have turned in the background. They had automatically enabled the echo suppression, so I went ahead and turned that off. So if everybody's saying that that's helped out, okay, that's fantastic. So a little bit of a bummer for that, if that affected the first part of the stream, but hey, sometimes we're working with what we got in terms of how those things are set up there. So I went ahead and shared that with you guys there. So let's go into some cool monitor updates we got for you guys that I think are going to be pretty cool. So let me go ahead and bring these guys up as far as some other products that we've got. Okay. So the first one is going to be an LCD, and this is actually going to be part of kind of like a, I'd say 2026 kind of update on offering some additional dual mode based monitors. So actually ASUS was the first manufacturer to release actually a dual mode LCD on the market, and we've been busy with actually getting ready to launch quite a number of other updates within this segmentation. So the first one right here that we're going to talk about is going to be the ROG STRIX, the XG27UCS Gen 2, or the abbreviated version would be the UCSR. So let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. I think at its upcoming price point, it is going to be a fantastic option for a lot of people in terms of upgrading. So most people still generally are not rocking a 4K based gaming display. Broadly speaking, even until not that long ago, the largest part of the market for gaming displays was still 1080p, and 1440p was kind of really starting to make inroads. About like almost 2 years ago, 1440p kind of really became the de facto standard for most people that were adopting into a gaming display, and we have an amazing lineup, especially with the Tough Gaming 5 series, where we now have 1440p, even something like a 300 hertz 1440p at an MSRP of $300, and sometimes at promo it's gone down for I think sometimes less than 250. I think our 210 hertz base 1440p option is something like around like a 199 base product offering. Some really fantastic options, so it makes sense why 1440p has become kind of the default. But I think this is a really compelling display for a lot of people. They might want to make that jump up to have a more pixel dense image, really have that outstanding sharpness of having 4K at 27 inches, and having that fidelity and that sharpness within desktop productivity, and for the clarity that you get, of course, for just in a more immersive, more detailed based game experience. So this is going to be, if we take a look at kind of the hero spec, what we've got 27 inches 4K. It's going to be coming in with a really nice wide gamut based level of color performance, right? So DCI-P is 95%, sRGB is really nice and punchy at over 100%. It's actually 130%. Really gives this a nice punchy, vibrant type of display. If you're not aware, all ROG monitors are factory calibrated, so straight from the factory, we already tuned them for nice color accuracy right out of the box, so you don't need to worry about kind of tuning anything. Now, if we look at some of the key specifications, some really nice solid spec here. So you're going to see right here that you have a refresh rate for that 4K at 160 hertz. So that's really nice and smooth already just for the 4K at that 160. And then from there, even on the brightness, a lot of people's base monitors on the LCD side are usually between maybe about 250 to maybe about 300 nits. So this is generally what we would define as kind of like a next step up in terms of the SDR based brightness. And you can see actually the peak brightness goes even a bit higher. Now, we qualify that with an HDR level of performance, but I wouldn't generally define this as an HDR display, as it doesn't have like a mini LED. It doesn't have a more advanced kind of backlighting based technology, but it definitely is going to be a very bright based LCD, and that's going to be even still a strength compared to like an OLED monitor. For reference, most OLED monitors, even the latest generation, the best ones that we have, like our Tandem or our latest generation QD OLED 1440ps, they won't get to 350 nits in terms of your SDR brightness. You're generally going to be talking, depending on the generation, usually around 250 to maybe around almost 300 nits in terms of the brightness. So LCDs noticeably still provide a brighter and punchier kind of base image in that regard. Now, of course, contrast and pixel response are going to be much better on OLED, plus you have HDR performance, right? But let's get into the next segment, which is going to be the dual mode technology. So the cool thing is that this monitor can offer you two levels of operation, that 4K at 160 hertz, or you can toggle it over into an FHD mode at 324 hertz. So that's awesome for just, again, ratcheting it up, that more kind of a smoother, clearer experience, right, for that motion clarity. If you're playing games, like your Fortnite, your Apex, your Valorant, right, your Warframe, whatever it might be that's more competitively focused, and you want to be able to have that faster, smoother, cleaner image experience. And 27 inches still works quite well to be able to have it be sharp for a 1080p based image, right? So I like that balance again of that 4K looking good, nice and really sharp, but again, the 1080p still looks good at that 27-inch base form factor. So I think this is going to be a great option. $399. Rounding out a couple of other spec that I just want to quickly touch on. It does have our eLNB sync, so that means you get a backlight strobing technology. Works great if you want to be able to connect this to a system where you can't necessarily get to those higher refresh rates at 120 hertz, 120 hertz refresh rate. You can still have an effective motion clarity of about 240, which is pretty sweet. You have DP, HDMI, and USB-C, and that USB-C does also support DP output. So that's great if you want to be able to connect like a mobile device, like a laptop or like a gaming handheld, like an ROG Ally. And you even get a nice little level of kind of power delivery, great for kind of quick charging your, your keyboards, your mice, you know, your controller, right, your Mercury, or your different types of devices. So you're good to go. And then ergonomic adjustment, you're still going to get your four-way, so you get your tilt, your swivel, your pivot, and your height. And you also still maintain our threaded mount design, which I love our threaded mount design. So that means that there's that little thread at the top. So if you want to quickly attach like a camera light or microphone, bam, you're good to go. So that's going to be the UCS base model. And we're going to go ahead and touch on one other one there. And then I'm going to check to see if there was any questions on that one. But again, just kind of keeping this ball rolling. I'm going to go here to the upgraded version of this monitor that we're also going to be rolling out. And this is going to be the also another dual mode. Going to seem kind of similar, but it's going to be different. This is going to be the ROG STRIX XG27UCG Gen 2, or again, kind of that end abbreviation, the UCGR. So how is the UCGR going to play out? Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. So we pretty much keep everything identical. This is going to be a 27-inch. It's going to be a 4K. It's going to be a dual mode. But the big update is going to be that we're going to even have a bit of a higher performance. So the 4K really isn't a big difference. It's 4K at 162 hertz versus 160. So we don't really need to worry about the 2 hertz differential there. But the FHD really goes up to a whole nother level. 485 hertz refresh rate. And this one is coming in at a really nice price point. The other one, keep in mind, $400. You're only paying that $50 extra to be able to bump up to this ultra high refresh rate. And this starts to get into like what we even want to start defining as like ultra high, right? I pretty much classify ultra high now to be 240 hertz and higher, but you know, with 240 hertz now really being democratized down to so much more accessible price points, like I said, I've got, you know, 1440p, 210, 240, 280, 300 based items that are $300 and sub $300. We might really start to have to reclassify, like, is 360 and above now the new kind of ultra high refresh rate kind of segmentation? But either which way, yeah, 4K at 162, then the FHD at 485, and then pretty much we keep all of the other spec that we talked about on the prior monitor pretty much the same. We get that same 95% DCI-P3, that wide color gamut, that really punchy 130% sRGB. You can actually see that the base brightness actually goes up. Technically, it says that the peak brightness is a little bit lower in terms of the HDR, but again, if you're not running the HDR, you wouldn't really ever notice that. But you would even notice that this is even going to be a punchier, even a brighter panel than that other monitor. So the other one, again, that base was closer to about 350. This one now being at about a 400. This is a very bright SDR-based panel. I love these type of LCDs. It has long been kind of my daily driver type of LCD. It's really a fantastic experience. It's also a true 10-bit based panel. Really, really nice in that regard. And then you still keep all that other stuff that we talked about. Again, the ELMB technology is going to be there. The DP, the HDMI, the USB-C, the power delivery in there, and then the four-way ergonomic, and then also the tripod mount. So all packed in. I think that these are going to be great options and additions that we're going to have here to our dual mode based LCDs. And these are also kind of working alongside the recent XG27JCG, which released, of course, last year, which is also our 5K 27-inch dual mode LCD. So that's a 5K 180 hertz and then 1440p 330 hertz LCD, which I think is a fantastic option out there as well. So a lot of actually dual mode LCDs that we have in that regard for those of you that are going to be interested in checking those guys out. So yeah. And there is going to be one last one that I want to touch on right here, which is going to be a tough gaming base variant. This will actually be the lowest cost option that we're going to be offering for this guy. And it will be even at a lower price point than, of course, the two ROG based monitors, because it's going to be a lower base specification. But let me go ahead and show this to one for some of you that might not necessarily meet the same kind of demanding criteria in terms of kind of those specifications, but you're still going to want a nice display, because I think this is going to be a nice option as well. So let me go ahead and round this one out here. So this is going to be the Tough Gaming VG27UQEL5A. And generally, anytime you see that U designation, just like you saw in those other names, it's UHD, which stands for 4K. So for some of you sometimes trying to go like, hey, you guys really need to work on the model names. The reality is that there's no easy way to do a model name when you have such complexity in the specifications that you have to define for a monitor. But there tends to be that we try to put in a logic into there. So the U pretty much always means you're looking at like at a 4K based monitor. So let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. And this is going to be a Tough Gaming dual mode LCD that we're going to be having. So this guy is going to be a reduced definitely in terms of the refresh rate for the 4K. So you're going to see 4K at 80 hertz, which is still nice bump up. Definitely going to be smoother overall in terms of that desktop experience, and even nice for a gaming experience that you're going to be able to bump up to. So 4K at 80 hertz, and then the FHD at 310 hertz. Still a full true IPS based display. You still get the AMB technology. Still actually a really nice punchy panel at 120% in terms of the sRGB. So if you're somebody that just wants to be able to see those nice punchy colors, that oversaturation that you're going to get is nice there. I love that here on the brightness scale, this one still is actually a very bright display. You can see 400 nits, which is quite nice on that monitor as well. And you still get like I said, the ELMB technology that's going to be on there. You'll notice here the main kind of omission on some of the connectivity is going to be, you don't have that USB-C. Here you have just DP and you have HDMI, but you still get a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And then you can see right here in terms of the adjustment, still adjustment is quite nice where you get tilt, swivel, pivot, and height. Or sometimes a little bit when you tend to go down to some of the more entry type gaming displays, you might not get four-way ergonomic adjustment. So I still love that we get four-way ergonomic adjustment on this one. And as always, do keep in mind that all of our monitors, it doesn't matter which one you're taking a look at, they all come with a 3-year warranty, so that's great to be able to see, right? So Kevin goes, monitors reach super high refresh rates these days. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, our flagship, right now the fastest monitors we have our 500 hertz QD OLED. We then have our 540 hertz tandem OLED, which also has a 720 hertz option mode. And then we also have, of course, our ROG STRIX ACE LCD, which is a 1080p 610 hertz display. And we're on the journey to 1000 hertz, guys. I'm telling you, we're not done. There's still more that's going to be coming. So a lot of stuff right there. So Neymar goes, 400 is awesome, much better than 250 or 300 nits. Yeah, I definitely agree. I really like a display that at least is giving me a true like 300 to like 325 nits. When you start to get into that 350 and 400, it's just really nice and punchy. It just also allows for just a little bit more flexibility in how you want to be able to tune your display, which I'm a big fan of. Now, of course, 350, 400 nits, especially more at night, and when you have your lights off, it's going to be super bright. But keep in mind, one of the best features that a lot of people sleep on that all of our monitors support is we have Display Widget Center. So that's actually software that you can use to control the monitor in your operating system using your keyboard and your mouse. And one of the best features that I love right now that we offer is going to be key binding support. So you can actually set up like your brightness on a key binding, which is actually what I will do. So I'll set my keyboard, have a key binding, and then if I just want to be able to toggle my brightness up or down, I can just use the key binding to be able to scale up my brightness or reduce my brightness depending on, like the ambient lighting that I might be having overall. So really, really love that, right? So Chris, yeah, on the equalizer cable, like I said, is that we should probably be having the channel availability announcement probably hit sometime next week, and I expect the availability to be not too far off from that. So I would expect that availability will be within this month. We'll have probably a little bit more information maybe next week as far as like when you can hard expect channel availability, but I would be looking at this month overall, probably going to be closer to the end of the month, okay? Tech Yes Please is like, yeah, 485 hertz, especially I think at that price point, I think is really, really quite nice, right? So let me go ahead and see right here. Hello JJ, are you planning on refreshing the big monitors 38 inches and above? It's been years, I think, since the last one. Yeah, so we 38 was a really interesting option. Actually, I really love that monitor that we did. We had the PG38UQ, which was like a nice, really in-between option between like our 32 and then like some of our larger like ultra-wide base displays, because it still had a normal aspect ratio, but it was a little bit of a niche-based product offering. As of right now, I can tell you, we do have some exciting monitor updates that will be announced in the not too distant future. One of them is, of course, information more on the PG27 tandem OLED unit that we announced at CES. There's more stuff to come, but I can tell you, at least right now, we don't have any immediate plans for something like a 38 in the foreseeable future. So right now, our immediate kind of updates, I would say, within a bigger than 32-inch form factor is we just finished kind of putting out the PG34WCDN. So that's the first pure RGB stripe QD OLED ultra wide base panel. So that's a 34-inch 3440 by 1440 pure RGB, fantastic monitor. And then we also have the XG27UCDMR, which is essentially kind of the baby brother to that monitor, and that's going to be coming in at a fantastic price. That unit, I have now confirmation that we're going to be coming in at $899 for that monitor. I think that is a banger of a monitor. $899 for pure RGB QD OLED, 34 inches, so 3440 by 1440, 280 hertz. Our QD OLED, optimizations with factory calibration, the Black Shield film technology, 8-way picture-in-picture technology support, super nice premium compact base stand. That is going to be an awesome display, I think, at that $899 price point. And then again, if you want the higher spec version, which has the USB-C power delivery, the 360 hertz refresh rate, the tripod base, the Dolby Vision support, and those other things, you can move up to the 360 version, the PG34 WCDN, right? But yeah, those are the only immediate kind of, let's say, bigger than 32 inches. So beyond that, no other updates to give you at this time for a bigger base display. All right. Kevin goes, when ASUS ROG drops that 1000 hertz, I'll be the first one to get it. All right, I'm gonna hold you to it. Okay. Let's see. Speaking of monitors, when will be the availability of the PG34 WCDN here in Europe? I managed to get the AQWP-W, but wanted to get one of those two for some of the games. Yeah. I can't speak to Europe. I'm sorry about that, man. I can only speak to North American base availability, but I would assume that Europe is going to probably be pretty close to us as well. You might need to reach out to wherever you're at in Europe. I don't know if like it's in Germany, take for instance, or wherever it might be, or if you're in the UK, check with the ASUS representation in that, because they will have variation as far as which model they might bring in. Keep in mind for the PG34, like I said, they also might be considering if they want to maybe bring in more the XG34, because like I said, it's effectively the same exact monitor. Really, the main difference is 360 or 280, right? Then the bases are going to be different. The XG has the more compact kind of base, and then the PG has the more tripod base, which I know some people really like the more compact base, but I will tell you for the 34-inch, I really like the tripod base because it has outstanding stability, especially when you start to move the display. And then the USB-C connectivity. So the PG, of course, has USB-C with high wattage power delivery support, and it also has Dolby Vision. But otherwise, every other feature, so the Black Shield film, the picture-in-picture, the BFI support, right, all of the stuff is exactly the same between the panels. It's just, like I said, those key differences between that. But I would expect also for the EU, overall availability should be this month. You should be seeing the monitor for sure, I would say, this month. And the XG, if it's not right there alongside it, it'll probably be just right behind it in terms of the overall availability. Okay. All right. Oh man, Tech, thank you so much. ROG worth the upgrade. Yeah, you got a thumbs up from me. Yeah. All right, fantastic. Hey, what is it? Artisvia? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm gonna have to double check and try to see about that. But fantastic to have you join us here on the stream, so thank you so much. So where was that? So we were talking about the dual mode LCDs. We talked about the dual mode LCDs. So I think I dropped those all in the chat, right? So I think you guys should have that. So we've got one other monitor that I want to be able to touch on here that's actually a little bit different. It's on the creator side of the fence, but this time instead of LCD, we're going to be talking about OLED. So we already had an amazing option with our PA27UCDM, which was going to be a QD OLED 4K 240 hertz ProArt series based monitor. Some actually users that were even on the gamer side, even though it was a ProArt monitor, loved it because I've also had a really premium ID design where it's one of the only monitors that we have that's like a full metal body. It also has Thunderbolt technology built into it, and it also has what's called a hardware calibration IC. So we now are actually releasing the baby brother to this monitor, which is going to be the ProArt PA27UCDMR. I like this one even more than the 32-inch, but that's just because my personal preference is I love PPI. I love a really, really sharp monitor. So 4K at 27 inches is a fantastic, really, really sharp PPI. So we bring along all of those other great technologies that we already had with the UCDM, and we pack that into even a more pixel dense display, right? And I think it's just going to be a win-win-win. So here, what do we have with this guy? If we take a look at the kind of the core specifications, really, really nice. So this is going to be your 27-inch, technically it's 26.5 viewable, right? So 4K, 240 hertz QD OLED. They have 1000 nits in terms of the peak rating. It does have a true black kind of target profile, which allows for 400. Now keep in mind that a sleeper thing that sometimes people don't realize is the ProArt series has even a much more advanced OSD menu, because of course it's designed for creators and professionals. So if you really want even more comprehensive tuning parameters, although on our ROG gaming displays, we are the best in the industry. Nobody has a more advanced OSD menu. We have things like 6 color access. We have gamma based adjustment options. even on ROG displays. You have all of this and even more on a ProArt based monitor. But one of the things that a lot of people don't aware is, of course, a ProArt monitor, we even have a more stringent level of factory calibration than we have on ROG. So on ROG is going to be generally a delta of 2, right? And then on our highest end ProArts, we're going to go with the delta of 1. So it's even a tighter level of color calibration that we're doing from the factory. Plus, these units have a hardware calibration IC built into them. So what is a hardware calibration IC? It means that there's a little chip that's built into the monitor that can store all of the color data. Now, this is important if you want to be able to run third-party calibrations. Normally, when you run a calibration, it's going to be stored on the computer. So let's say if I had two devices, like I had a laptop and I had a desktop. If I connect my laptop, but I had the calibration done on the desktop, actually the colors are not going to be the same because the calibration data is stored on the device that you do the calibration on. But the cool thing that we have here is that when you have a hardware IC, you can save the calibration data to the inside of the monitor. And that means doesn't matter if I connect 3 different systems, even if they're different operating systems, one's Mac and the one's a PC, it doesn't matter. They will have the same color consistency across any device I use because the monitor is storing the color calibration data inside of the display. On top of that, like again, this is one of the only displays that we have within our lineup that has Thunderbolt connectivity. So it's just not high speed IO, but you also have Thunderbolt. You also, of course, have 96 watt power delivery, and you have the USB-C hub technology also built into this unit. And you'll also see just this really nice premium quality stand, which I think looks great. When you look at the back, this is all really nice kind of metal bodied finish design, which just looks really clean, really has a nice clean kind of mechanism to be able to adjust the overall height on the display as well, right? So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of being able to make your adjustments, right, for things like your height. So I love the ID design on this. If you're looking for something more premium, this is a great option. And really from the price point, it's kind of crazy everything you're getting. And one other little update coming out of NAB that's really cool for our ProArt OLED displays. We were already industry leading. So ProArt was the only monitor in the industry where we were giving you 3 years standard, but then 5 years if you registered your monitor on LCDs. We're now excited to say that for 2026, for ProArt OLED displays, we will be the only manufacturer in the industry that is now even extending our ProArt warranty to now 5 years for both our LCDs and for our OLED monitors, dependent on registration. Now, if you decide that you don't want to register, you will still maintain your 3-year warranty. But if you even want to take it further, 5 years. So I think this is going to be a fantastic option. And the kicker on this one is actually, I really think, the pricing. So I want to go to our promo field, and let me go over here because I had I think the page up right here. So this monitor right now, like, what do you think maybe the price is? It's right now. You can see, guys, right here. It's normally $1,300, which is a great price. It's $200 off, $10.99. We actually already sold out of it. Click on the notify me. We will be running actually more sustained inventory. And right now we have, continuing for NAB, we actually have some awesome promotions that are going on. These might actually be the best promotions that I've ever seen us do for our ProArt series monitors, maybe in the last like 3 years that I think we've ever done. There's a vast majority of the ProArt displays all have active promotions, with many of the monitors having between $100 to $200 to $300 off on them. So if you've been looking to maybe make an upgrade and you really love what we're doing on the ProArt ecosystem, I would really tell you, check it out right now. You might not maybe see better promotion pricing up and until maybe like Black Friday or something like that. And even then, I don't know that the promotions are going to be as good as even what we're doing right now. So overall, just telling you, don't sleep on these guys. And this is going to be a great addition to our lineup. Okay. So let me go ahead and drop this one in the chat if you guys want to check it out. But I think it's a great option here. Let me go ahead and see right here. So Neymar goes, yeah, 5 years. Wow, I need to exchange my monitors for ProArt. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, again, all ASUS monitors, it doesn't matter from our entry-level monitors. If it's a $100 ASUS, just name monitor, it's a 3-year warranty. So everything always has a 3-year warranty. Of course, we have class-leading OLED validation warranty as well. So we have a 3-year warranty that also includes burn-in, right? But new, just for ProArt, ProArt now has 5-year warranty for both OLED and for LCD. So that's industry-leading. It is going to be contingent. Again, the users do have to complete registration. If you have more questions, then we recommend you reach out to our service and support team, and they can guide you through the rest of the details on that side. But yes, I think it shows our commitment to be able to show that we have, I think, a really great product on that side of the fence. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm a student. To be honest, I always try to use discounts. Yeah, and keep in mind that we do have a new login option. So for people in certain types of fields, like in education, I think government, and I think some elements of certain first responders or something like that, there can be some discount offerings. So if you go to the ASUS store, you'll see like a little filter for that. You can kind of look into that. But yeah, I think overall, some good options there. So Drew Morris says the PG32UCDM is the best overall gaming monitor I've used. Yeah, the Gen 3, that is a fantastic monitor. So we've talked about that one a lot because it just recently came to market, but the original UCDM was already great. The Gen 3 just, I got leveled it up, right? That new AL panel material, it even improved the brightness performance. The Black Shield film gives you that really nice ambient light handling, right? And it's a much more resistant screen to take scratches or mitigation. We have the new recessed design. We integrated the AC adapter. You have the anti-flicker tech in there. I would agree, for a lot of people, if you're looking for an amazing 32-inch 4K QD OLED based gaming display, that was a fantastic choice. And for a lot of people that really wanted super clarity, the prior update that we had on our XG32 side, which was our True Gloss Black, some people were favoring that over the, of course, the QD OLED because the QD OLED had a little bit worse ambient light handling. But the Black Shield film now, though, on the Gen 3 option, now becomes a really interesting debate. I will say that still, from a clarity and for black depth perception, the XG32 series is still better with True Gloss Black, but of course the color saturation, the color volume is still stronger on QD OLED. So I think from an overall kind of total immersion process, the Gen 3 probably takes the edge, and positioning wise, we position the Gen 3 over our XG32 series, hence why that's an ROG Swift monitor versus our ROG Strix monitor. But True Gloss Black is pretty awesome because that's also a zero haze clarity based implementation, right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Drew goes, amazing. I own the original PG27UCDM. Yeah, I love that monitor. Again, really sharp and pixel dense, right? And SimSam. Yeah. Yeah, in a black room, the black level ideal is identical. Yes, you're going generally right. If you're pretty much like static, I would say yes. Although I would say still even in black, because of the way that the polarizer implementation is present, I would still say that the inkiness, that what's called black depth perception, can still be a little bit stronger actually on the True Gloss Black than it is actually on there. And it's hard because you literally can't see it unless you literally put them side by side, even in a black-based environment. But you eliminate the ambient light handling issue in a black environment, but on your version now where you have the new Gen 3, you don't even have to worry about that even when you have ambient lighting. So overall, yeah, those are all great updates. So that gets you guys covered there in terms of our updates on that side. So yeah, I just have a couple of little last things, but this is pretty much going to round out our updates here. But I do want to kind of just go into rounding out the promotions. Let me go here. So we have monitor deals. So give me 1 second here. So I do want to just share with this, and I'll share the link there, is that for anybody that is looking for any monitor upgrades right now, again, right now we have a lot of really great promotions that are going on for a lot of displays. So again, you can saw that I saw for that UCDMR, again, $200 off. You can see here, this is one of our flagship mini LEDs. You can see $300 off from $1,900 to $1,600. But even if you go down to some of our like OLEDs right here, this is $250 off for our prior generation 34-inch ultra wide, which is still a fantastic option. I love this one. This is still a beautiful, great QD OLED panel. It's 3440 by 1440, 175 hertz. It has the updated Neo proximity sensor on there. And again, $750. This is an awesome monitor. Or like Drew, who's just talking about, he has kind of like the QD OLED version of this monitor versus like the WOLED monitor that we're using in this version, because that's the cool thing about ASUS. We've actually been offering both, but this is a great option here too. Normally $1,099, $190, almost $200 off for 900, essentially $900. You can get the 4K 240 with also that FHD toggle that has the 480 hertz on this one. So some great options again, and you can just see other ones like this MRL5A. This is a 310 hertz, 24-inch, right? Full HD based monitor for $150, $50 off. But you can see here, our 6K monitor, $250 off, going from $1,300 to $1,050, right? This is that 300 hertz 1440p monitor. If you remember, what did I say? What was the MSRP? $300, $230 right now. That might be the monitor to beat from like a sweet spot for most gamers. That monitor is bold and bright, super fast in terms of the motion clarity. Like that is a very hard monitor to beat. Like consider that like for $400 for the price of like that 4K dual mode monitor, which is fantastic and it has even a higher refresh rate for like the 1080p. But I could literally get two of those side by side, have them be color matched. That's actually a wide gamut monitor. It has over, I think it's like 130% sRGB on that one as well, higher than standard SDR brightness, again for $230. That's a tough monitor to beat. Again, but you can see a lot of really nice promotions. The XG27UCGR, which this is like the baby brother to the one that Drew also talked about, where he had the PG version. That's the slightly higher end version that has Dolby Vision support and some other stuff. But this one again, 900. You can again see a lot of really nice options. The 5K monitor, which has been super popular already, great price savings, $800, $700. This might be one of my favorite ones. This is going to be the last one I'll talk about on a ProArt monitor promotion. But this guy right here, this is our ROG Swift OLED PA27UCDMR. The ROG monitor arm alone is like a $200 almost product. The fact that you literally, for $550, you get a 1440p, 240 hertz, right, OLED panel, right, and you get the ROG monitor arm with it, right, for $550, that is awesome. That is that setup right there, that whole setup, it's literally out of the box. You have that. That to me is a fantastic deal. This is literally, for me, every time we put this package on promo, I'm like, that's an amazing deal. And that monitor arm, man, that monitor arm looks so good. If you guys haven't seen this monitor arm, I mean, look, it's got this really cool all metal C-clamp design, this little translucent, it's got the red spring in there, right? It's awesome. Looks great. And even if you upgrade the monitor later to a bigger monitor, this monitor arm is rated for even supporting like our bigger display. So if you went to like a bigger like 32-inch monitor or like a 34-inch monitor, it can totally also work for this with the ROG monitor arm. But this guy, again, I think at this price, that is a really, really tough one to beat. So I'm going to drop this in the chat here for you guys if anybody wants to check out a look at any of these promotions. Right now, like I said, I think this is some of the best promotions that we run on some of our displays in a very, very long time. So yeah, definitely check those out as well. Oh man, Drew is definitely a hardcore guy and likes the premium stuff. He also has the AQWP-W. Yeah, that's fantastic. So you got the peak right there. So you got the True Gloss Black, you got the tandem technology, you got the latest generation QD OLED. We'll have some other exciting stuff for you too, Drew. It seems to be like you like the really nice stuff. So just watch it there. It's going to be coming in the not too distant future, right? So Neymar also goes, as I use that arm and I love it. Yeah, I think again for that deal, that price of that monitor with that monitor arm, I think that is that's a really, really, really nice deal, right? So yeah, that takes care of some great monitor promotions. I think that you guys can go ahead and check out. So that pretty much wraps up everything that I wanted to talk about. I have one last promotion deal on here and just a couple updates on the chassis cooling side, and that'll wrap anything up. So if anybody has any last questions, feel free to drop them. But if not, we're going to go ahead and pretty much get ready to wrap things out shortly here. So moving from monitor deals, I did want to go ahead and quickly touch on a really great networking deal that we do have. So this, I think, is one of the biggest values that I've seen that we've done in all of 2026 and even I'd say in recent memory. So this is going to be for our BD5. The BD5 is our entry-level Wi-Fi 7 mesh networking product. Now it's not a tri-band based product, but still by performance, this is still, it has 2.5 gigabit WAN and LAN support based into it. And you can get truly actually multi-gig level throughput. So you can literally have, upwards of, 1.6, 1.7 gigabits of throughput, and actually maybe even faster than that in terms of the overall throughput performance, especially when you're talking about the nominal range. But I think the most compelling item is that the single pack and the two pack are already outstanding value props, right? These come with 3-year warranties. You have the ability to run VPN on the unit. You have no paywalls like some competitors out there from like literally like Eero that has a paywall, Netgear that has a paywall, TP-Link that has a paywall. For if you want parental controls, guess what? I'm going to start charging you $10 a month for literally your parental controls. If you want more advanced the security functions, you're also going to have to pay for other kind of features that are based on subscription. Everything that we're going to give you is built into the actual firmware of the product. We also have the best in class flexibility on how you manage our network, where we don't require actually a cloud connected account to be able to manage your unit. If you want to be able to do it locally, you can do that. If you also want to be able to have remote access, you can do that. If you want to be able to use your iPhone to manage it through the app, you can do that. If you want to use your Android phone, you can do that. Or if you want to dial into the web, you can do it that way. Tons of comprehensive features, tons of stuff that I've talked about in the past. But if we just come down to a pure price point, the normal 3-pack is normally $350 for 3 units. Now, if we talk about coverage, 3 units is going to give you up to 6,800 square feet. This pretty much for like 90% of people is going to give you outstanding coverage. Make sure that you have a great connected experience wherever you are. And I would argue that you're probably going to be able to maintain I'd say at least around probably 750 to upwards of over a gigabit of wireless throughput around that entirety of that connection experience. So it works really, really well for fast speed by ISP connections. What do we have this on promo right now? You can actually pick up this ZenWiFi BE5000 pack from Best Buy on a promo right now for $199. That's $150 off. So $150 off for the 3-pack solution, right? That's just insane to me from a price standpoint. So if you've been wanting to kind of really resolve any pain points that you have in terms of your connected experience, we have consistently been ranked at the top end. You can check out independent sources, go to like PC Magazine. You can see that we have been able to be consistently end user ranked, not only in terms of the usability, but the performance and our feature set. It's a fantastic product. I really love this unit. I think it's a great option for, like I said, the vast majority of people, unless you really, really need that 6 gigahertz band, which would really be the next big upgrade to make when you move up into our product stack. This price point alone, again, for this price, I think is just a banger of a deal. Almost look at it from this. The money that you save, if you even wanted to have more crazy coverage, you could buy our BD5 Outdoor, which is an outdoor AP that you can mount to the outside of your house. So if you wanted even more coverage to be able to cover like, external driveway, patio, backyard area, pool area, right? A more unincorporated space in your backyard, that's like $160 or something like that. It's literally like almost being able to buy that unit for free, and you would even have even more coverage, right, at the same cost that normally the 3-pack would be in. So yeah, I would tell you, consider checking that guy out. I think it's a great option there. So that is going to be the BD5. I'm going to drop the Best Buy link in there for you guys, just because that's the one that already has the current price promotion reduction. If you were to search that right now, even on the ASUS website, where that's still a great deal, but it's at its normal price. It's $350. So I'm dropping the Best Buy link in there, because the Best Buy link right now, we've got it for that $199. Buy that guy, because that is a great option if you're looking to be able to upgrade your Wi-Fi right there. Okay. Namor, what was the question you're asking about? Which AP? I'm not sure what you mean. So if you can clarify that, I'll answer that for you. Kevin goes, I love the network stuff. Yeah, and Kevin's got a lot of experience. Actually, I'm pretty sure Kevin's got an ASUS mesh network set up. So I think he can probably attest to how easy it is to be able to actually use our AI mesh deployment and setup, and then be able to manage everything through our ASUS router app. It's really just a great, consistent, easy experience to be able to work with. So thanks for your feedback, Kevin. I appreciate that there. So I just wanted to ask about the pump on the new STRIX LC4 versus the one on the Ryogen 3 Extreme. How do those compare cooling wise? I would like to go with the Glacial, but I don't want to use the performance. Yeah, so that's a good question. So the Ryogen 3 Extreme is a very performant unit in terms of actually the radiator. So when we talk about the upgrades that we had with the regular Ryogen, right, to the Ryogen Extreme, it wasn't really the pump that what I would say changed too much. The bigger change was actually going to be within the fans, and then you were also going to be looking at the thickness of the radiator. So the thickness of the radiator alongside those fans helped to do some additional lifting to be able to even give you a higher level of performance in that regard. I would overall say comparability. I'm actually going to be doing a more of a direct A and B test for this, for people that are kind of like wanting to have that type of information to kind of say like, hey, I don't want to necessarily have a downgrade on that regard, but overall I wouldn't worry about it. There's actually a change though within the fans that are being utilized on that model compared to the fans that we also have on the on the Ryogen 3 Extreme. But overall, I would tell you, you should be pretty much in the same class. I don't expect that you would see overall any performance differential in that regard. I think right now the Ryogen 3 Extreme, right, those are our highest performing, because those go up to 2800 RPM plus or minus 10%, because there's always some variability in that regard, right? And what I think that the Static pressure is really the biggest benefit of those because they're technically rated at over, I think, like 5 in terms of the static pressure performance. But overall, I wouldn't worry about it. If you feel like you want to be able to have that super streamlined experience and be able to match the experience, you're going to be fine going with the Strix LC4. Plus, you even get that nice bigger display because that's got an over 5-inch display, which before the Ryzen 3 Extreme was the biggest display you could get, and that one even goes bigger. But overall, yeah, just watch out. I will be covering that. I actually already have the test unit here to be able to do the testing, so we're actually going to do that on stream. We'll go into that. We'll get you covered on there, so I wouldn't worry about that, man. Okay. Oh yeah, outside AP. Yeah, I can show that really quick. Give me 1 second right here. Yeah, interesting that you went with the Fantech T30s to re-on it. I don't really think you needed to go with the Fantech T30s, but you know, you're right. Yeah, those are fantastic fans. So again, if you're kind of bypassing already the fans as opposed to the fans that come on the unit, right, then you're reducing even more variability between actually going with the two units, because the fans were one of the ways that we're really maximizing the performance, because then you're maintaining the same kind of radiator, right? So in that regard, yeah, I wouldn't overall worry about it. But BD5 outdoor, yes. So answering your question, Neymar, this is the actual unit that I was talking about. So keep in mind that all of our units that have AI mesh support, which is pretty much every router that we make, whether it's a regular router or whether it's a mesh networking product, you can always scale them out. You can always add more ASUS products to keep adding more coverage. But this is a new product that we released towards the end of last year to this year, which is specifically designed for an outdoor configuration. So this is, you can see it's our BD5 outdoor. And this differs in a couple of ways, right? The first one is, of course, is that it has standard power support. So that means you could power it via an AC power connection, but it actually also supports power over Ethernet, which we also have a power over Ethernet switch. So of course, the benefit there is you can run power over Ethernet switch much more flexibly, much longer distances from one point to another point if you need to do that. This also has full IP certification, so IP65, so it's designed to be left outdoors, right? So if there's going to be rain, if there's going to be sleet, if there's going to be snow, high temperature considerations, all of this stuff. So this is designed to be mounted externally outside, so like on the side of your house, to again be able to give you more coverage for, again, like I said, like garages, wall, you know, extended kind of unincorporated spaces in your backyard, things along those lines, if that's what you're looking for. There's also different types of actually deployment options in terms of how you can mount it. So you can see, like, you can do a pole mount, you can do a wall mount. You have different types of actually mounting configurations available to you. And this is easy. You just go into the ASUS router app, it attaches over to your other mesh that you have within your ASUS node, and bam, you're good to go. So yeah, you can see $180 here for the BD5 outdoor. So this is our first formalized outdoor product that adds in additional coverage if that's what you if you need based on your kind of environment. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, guys, that pretty much takes care of everything. I'm just going to run through a very quick chassis update here at the end. This is going to wrap anything else. So unless anybody has any other questions, we'll pretty much wrap this up as soon as I close these guys out. And if you guys want to, you know, ask anything, feel free to go ahead and ask while I go through this. But this is going to kind of just be a quick run through on some cool updates that we have on the chassis side of the fence. And some of the cooling products. So just a couple of things that you're going to be seeing coming, as I can tell you that we are going to be confirmed bringing in this A32 chassis. Originally, it wasn't 100% planned, but I'm actually really excited about this. This is going to be our cheapest, essentially dual chamber panoramic based chassis option. So before, we already had this guy, which is the A31, which I absolutely love. But if you want that little bit more kind of compact based design, we are going to be having a white and a black model of this one that's going to be coming in. It's just got a nice, clean, minimal design language there, as opposed to maybe some of the little bit more stylized branding elements that we have for, like, let's say tough gaming, or let's say for the ROG based chassis. So yeah, we're going to be having this guy coming in, again, white or black, the A32. Probably availability is going to probably be late this month. So watch out if you're interested in having a dual panel compact based chassis option. This is going to be definitely smaller than what we would have with like our GT502 Horizon, which is our much larger dual chamber panoramic based chassis option. That one still also has the internal lighting kit, which is really cool. But again, this one will be coming in the not too distant future. The AP303 mesh is now actually available, and this one we talked about before, but I really love the look of this chassis. Again, you know, I know a lot of people really right now dig the more kind of like pano design and with kind of glass, but I really love the silhouette of the AP mesh series where when you kind of put all your hardware in there, even if you light it up, you just kind of have this soft silhouette, which I think looks kind of really cool and distinct. So you can already see a lot of cool stuff that we've done. A lot of people have built with the AP201, which is the micro ATX version. This is a much bigger option. This is a 44-liter chassis, and you can actually put a normal ATX based motherboard in there. So if you just kind of want this really kind of, I would say, clean, refined, and minimal design looking system, again, white and black, and you want to have this ultra high airflow, this is an amazing option with a huge level of essentially density in there in terms of the number of the number of holes that we have machined into the chassis. So has absolutely insane airflow characteristics because pretty much it's entirely all ventilated in there. I'm a huge fan of the AP201, so I'm really excited to now be able to say that we have the AP303, right? Again, white and black, and you can see again, you can have support for full 360mm I/O, full ATX motherboard, big graphics cards, standard size power supplies. You're gonna be good to go. Really easy to build in. It's actually very similar to kind of the streamlined build experience for the AP201. So again, if you want something even more compact than this one, don't forget on the AP201, we already have that. So AP201 or the AP303, okay? We also have some promos running right now on the MR120s. These are our most entry-level based fans, but they have great static pressure. They have good airflow performance. I'm also a big fan because we have them in both white and black. We have them in standard and reverse based designs. I also really like the actual RGB design on this one because a lot of the more basic kind of RGB fans, they generally have like an internal ring light. So I actually like that you actually get the side profile illumination along with the internal illumination. So there's actually about double the amount of LEDs that you would normally get in normal type of fans. So yeah, they're not daisy chain based. If you want the daisy chain, of course, we've got daisy chain that's going to be coming up with the Eurox space fans, which are going to probably be coming in probably June timeframe is probably the estimate that I would say. And we of course have the FP120 fans. So if you're serious and you really care about top tier performance, I would actually even say compared to the Fantech solution, we have the ProArt fans, which are absolute monsters. And they're absolutely fantastic because they also have a daisy chain magnetic design, which you don't normally see on a normal non-RGB fan. So you get the best of both worlds. You get outstanding static pressure, outstanding build quality, outstanding airflow, and you also the simplicity of that daisy chain magnetic design. So the FP120s are probably going to be available within the next week or two. The MR120 is available right now. We have them on promo. And then on the AP602, so this is our larger size ProArt chassis. Super fantastic chassis, a lot of really cool stuff about it. Has two massive 200mm 38mm thick fans already pre-installed, a thicker rear 140mm 28mm thick fan already all pre-built in. But the thing that some people don't realize is that we actually have different wood versions that we've also recently introduced. So we have the standard model, which we call the wood edition right here, which if you kind of bring it up, you'll see kind of has like this little bit of a darker tone to it. But we've also released the retro brown edition. So the retro brown edition actually has like a little bit more like a chocolate type of color kind of brown. So if you really like that warmth of the brown, which I really like that, then you might want to consider the retro brown edition version versus the standard wood edition. So just keep in mind, we have the retro brown and we have also the standard wood edition, and then we also have the non-wood edition. So you can literally actually get three different chassis. There's the standard PS602, 602 wood edition, and then the 602 wood edition, but that is retro brown. Okay. And that also extends to the PA401. So the PA401, which is the smaller version of the PS601, which still does ATX-based builds, but is limited to a 240mm base cooling solution as opposed to a 360 or even 420, which the PA602 supports. Is that one also comes in different editions as well. So you have the wood edition, which also recently launched after the original PA401. So if you want to be able to check that one out as well, you can see right here, here's the wood edition. And we also have this new one in a different lighter color wood. So again, even when you look at it, there's the standard PA401, there's the PA401 wood edition, and then you also have the variant, which will be much lighter in terms of the color scheme. So I just wanted to give some soft updates on that side as well. Okay. So yeah, Kevin says, "Oh, that's pretty. I love the clean look of the ASUS case line." Yeah, I think for like stuff like the AP series, right, to the A31, that new A32, they just really have just a really nice, simple, clean, minimal design language. So if you just want it to just look nice, refined, and minimal, I'm a really big fan of those. I think that the tough gaming stuff is pretty minimal, but even for some people, sometimes there's just a little bit of stamping or embossing or something like there that they'd prefer to see that a little bit more reserved. So it's nice to again be able to see that, and that's a little bit of a challenge sometimes when people are looking at our products, is we almost have so much series that they might only think, oh, ASUS only has those ROG chassis, but in reality, actually, I think we're quite unique to most companies in the industry, where most of the other companies, like what almost all of their products look like, because they're all kind of the same ID. For us, the ROG products look very different than the tough gaming products, which look different from the ProArt products, which also look different from the ASUS products. So it does mean sometimes you have to spend a little bit more time to kind of look at our product stock to figure that out. But overall, guys, that wraps up our stream. I'll leave it last open if there's any last questions that came up from anybody. If not, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. And I want to thank you guys again. Appreciate you guys letting me know about the audio. Sorry if there was a little bit more garbling or whatever it might be with that echo suppression. I'll make sure to double check that they don't hopefully turn on that function for next week's streams. And hopefully for next week as well, we'll bring back the PCDIY Builder Spotlight as well. So we'll structure it to make sure. And for those of you that are still watching the stream, if you're not familiar with the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, make sure to join our ASUS PCDIY community. If you join the community, there's actually a submission form where you can share your build, your setup, your different types of configurations. I'd love to be able to show them off here in the stream, talk about them, give some recognition. Hopefully also we might be instituting our kind of more formalized Spotlight program and something else that I'm working on to be able to do some other cool stuff for those of you that make your submissions for the PCDIY Spotlight as we move forward in 2026. But at a minimum, for sure, we'll continue forward to be able to highlight your guys' builds, because we wouldn't be where we are without you guys in terms of your guys' support. So it's always fun to be able to, guys, show off what you guys are doing in terms of your builds, your setups, and those experiences. So all you got to do is just submit the PCDIY Builder submission form. I filter through those, and then I can feature them here on the stream. All right. Let me go ahead and see if there's any last questions that kind of popped up there. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Yeah, Pyrian, yeah, fantastic, man. So thank you so much, Neymar. It's been great having you. Thanks for so much engagement here. Kevin, always great to be able to see you here, man. Hope to be able to see you there as well. So with that, guys, take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, and best of luck with your guys' build. Bye-bye.